It was just supposed to be a coffee run. But the moment Ava turned the corner of Maple and 3rd, something stopped her. Or rather, someone. A man sat hunched against the wall, wrapped in layers of mismatched fabric. His hair was thick and tangled, his beard unkempt. His face held a tiredness not just from lack of sleep, but from carrying too much pain for too long. But it was his eyes that stopped her. There was something quietly intelligent behind them. A story untold. As she passed by, their eyes met for a split second, and he gave her a nod, a polite, gentle acknowledgement. Most people would have ignored him. Ava didn't. The next morning, she brought 2 coffees instead of 1. She offered him one without saying anything. He looked at it for a second, then took it with both hands. "Thank you," he said, surprised. "No one's done that in a long time." Ava smiled. "I'm Ava. What's your name?" He hesitated, then said, "Daniel." That was how it began. A coffee. A name. A connection. Ava was a school teacher who had seen her own share of loss. Her mother had died when she was young. Her father worked 3 jobs to raise her. Kindness had always been their family's legacy. She believed in helping others not because it made her feel better, but because it was right. And Daniel, he seemed like someone who hadn't been seen in a long, long time. Days turned into weeks. Every morning, Ava would sit beside Daniel on the bench before work. They'd talk about books, music, philosophy. He had a depth that stunned her. He quoted Shakespeare, referenced Dostoevsky, and spoke like someone who once walked among scholars and thinkers. But he never talked about how he ended up on the streets. Ava never asked. She waited. Trust was earned, not forced. One rainy afternoon, Ava found Daniel shivering, coughing violently. She didn't think twice. She helped him up, hailed a cab, and took him to the nearest clinic. He resisted at first, ashamed and scared, but she insisted. At the clinic, the doctors diagnosed him with pneumonia. He needed rest, warmth, and care. Ava didn't want to send him back out into the cold. Without family, and knowing he'd likely resist a shelter, she brought him home, just until he got better. What started as a few nights turned into weeks. Daniel helped around the house, read endlessly, and even started painting in the spare room. He had a natural talent. His paintings were full of emotion and light, the kind that made you pause and feel something. Ava found herself drawn to him more and more. Not just his mind, but his heart. He was gentle. Thoughtful. Quietly protective of her. One night, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Daniel said softly, "You know, most people look at me like I'm invisible. But not you." "Why?" Ava turned to him. "Because you're not invisible. You're kind. Smart. You see people, Daniel. I just returned the favor." He didn't say anything for a moment. Then whispered, "No one's ever said that to me." Love bloomed slowly between them, built not on appearances or wealth, but on respect, care, and mutual healing. When Daniel asked her to marry him 6 months later, it was not with a ring, but with a simple, "I want to wake up next to you every day, for the rest of my life. Will you let me?" She said yes without hesitation. People judged. Her colleagues raised eyebrows. Her friends questioned her. "Ava, are you sure? He has no job. No stability. You barely know his past." But Ava held her ground. She knew love when she saw it. Daniel was unlike any man she'd ever met. They had a small, beautiful wedding in a public park. Daniel wore a borrowed suit. Ava wore a simple white dress her father had kept from her mother. It was intimate. Emotional. Honest. They moved into a small house on the edge of town. Daniel started selling his paintings at local art fairs. Ava supported them with her teaching job. Life wasn't easy, but it was full of joy, laughter, and shared dreams. Their love grew deeper every day. And then everything changed. On their first anniversary, Daniel gave Ava a small wooden box. Inside was a single key. She looked at him, puzzled. "What's this for?" Daniel took a deep breath. "For the truth." He took her to an address on the outskirts of the city. There, behind tall gates, stood a grand estate, lush gardens, marble fountains, and a towering mansion. Ava was speechless. "I don't understand," she whispered. Daniel held her hand tightly. "I wasn't always homeless, Ava. I used to be someone else. My real name is Daniel Whitmore." The name rang a bell. Ava blinked. "Wait, Whitmore Industries? The software company?" He nodded. "I built it. I ran it. Until I lost my wife and daughter in a car crash 6 years ago. I blamed myself. I couldn't face the boardroom meetings, the empty house, the pity. So I left. I gave it all up. I disappeared." Ava's eyes welled with tears. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed to know if someone could love me when I was nothing. And you did. You gave me more than anyone ever has." Ava hugged him tightly. Not because of the wealth, but because of the honesty. The vulnerability. Over the next few months, Daniel slowly reconnected with his past. He handed over his business to a trusted team but kept the estate. Together, Ava and Daniel transformed the mansion into a home for the homeless, a sanctuary. Each room housed someone with a story, someone who just needed a second chance. Ava returned to teaching, but now ran workshops at the shelter too, offering education, dignity, and hope. Their story became a symbol of how love sees beyond circumstances, beyond scars. People often asked her, "What made you say yes to a homeless man?" Ava would always smile and say, "Because he wasn't homeless to me. He was home." If this story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories. Let's remind the world, love doesn't ask for wealth, only honesty, and sometimes, a single act of kindness can uncover a life of unimaginable beauty.